Welcome back to the program. How do you eat an elephant? You can't swallow an elephant in one shot, right? You got to eat it one bite at a time. Even the most ferocious, venomous constrictors and venomous snakes out there that have been known to even eat an entire human being still, for the most part, don't bite it and do it in one shot. Okay? Some can, but not many do. And you can't do that with an elephant. The elephant in this case is the, quote, big, beautiful bill that President Trump has been talking about now for many weeks. This bill should not be eaten in one big gulp, okay? This bill, if you really want it to get passed the right way, the most correct way, the most effective way, is break it up. Break it up into smaller little bills. But here is Speaker Big Johnson on Sunday Morning Futures talking to Maria Bartiromo about the bill and his confidence in making sure that they pass it. Listen to this.
Tax cuts, look, is critical. We're going to make the 2017 tax cuts permanent. We're going to eliminate taxes on overtime and tips, as the president promised. New tax relief for seniors on Social Security. And we're going to cut taxes on job creators. So that will help everybody across the country at the same time as incentivizing American-made production and manufacturing. This is a big thing. We cannot fail, and we'll get it done for the American people.
Oh, we'll get it done for the American people. Here's what is happening, okay? Washington does not like to solve problems because when Washington solves a problem, they no longer have that problem to run on, right? I've explained that in the past. There's a reason that the hawks, the financial hawks in the House, have been on the other side of this saying, we don't want this, right? Tim Burchett, a few others. They said, no, this is not true, Chip Roy. There's no real cuts in this bill, and any cuts that are in this bill have been pushed to the future. Now, why is that important? Because that is how Washington works. Washington is in a stage of perpetual can kicking. This is what they do. They know that they have the ability to solve the problems for the American people. But why would they do that? They've got nothing to run on if they start solving all these problems. So they're looking at government and how to govern completely ass backwards. And that is a big problem. But here we are, Johnson yelling and screaming, guess what? We're going to pass the bill. Guess what just happened? It just got passed tonight in what's known as committee. It passed 17-16, so barely passed. But what does this mean? It doesn't mean the bill is done. It doesn't mean the bill is even solidly, negotiated yet. All it means is it got out of committee, meaning what? They were able to vote on getting it to the full House for a vote. When will that be? Probably by the end of the week, would be my guess. Thursday, Friday, something like that. And that's when the real stuff starts, okay? But again, a lot of what is in this bill and the quote-unquote cuts that he's referring to, they're really not there. They're there, but they're not there. Now, let me explain another thing. The chances of this legislation becoming what we would consider permanent are slim to none. And how do we know that? Well, what happened in 2017 with the first tax cut bill with President Trump? Couldn't get it permanent. So what happened? It had a 5-year, or whatever it was, about 5 years, and then, it would actually, 2017, it would have been a 10-year. So it is going to lapse in a couple of months. And so because it's going to lapse in a couple of months, Republicans in the House can now say Democrats can't run on the biggest tax hike in American history. But there's a flip side to that. Republicans can't run either as a do-nothing Republican Congress, number one, and more importantly, number two, not having a new tax bill, meaning what? Taxes go up on all income earners in every bracket. And that's the way this works. So even if they do get it out of committee, which they did, it goes back into the House. They mark it up. They put in all the stuff. And then it goes to the Senate. As it's written now, it's dead on arrival in the Senate. This is important stuff, so you have to understand. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there are too many people like Ron Johnson and Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and so many others that are saying, sorry, not going to happen, not going to fly in the Senate without real cuts. So then what happens? The Senate takes the bill, if it gets there, right? If it passes the House by the end of the week, let's say, maybe it does by one vote, I don't know, whatever. They sit there and they slap each other on the back and they congratulate and they go get drunk and high and who knows what with little children. Whatever it is that they do to, blow off steam, all of them. Then it goes to the Senate, where the real work starts. And the Senate goes, yeah, okay, we understand House, but no. Out. Oh, by the way, we want real cuts in, real cuts in, real cuts in. So then the Senate then has a chance to mark it up. They come up with their own version of the bill. Goes back to the House. Now what? Now the House has to decide. Are we going to eat the Senate's changes? Or are we going to just say, you know what? We got to figure out a way to pass this thing. Now, I can tell you right now, this talk about a permanent bill and permanent tax cuts, I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but the chances of it happening are slim to none. They'll probably end up with some type of a compromise, as they always do, for another 4 or 5 years, and they'll perpetually kick the can down the road another 4 or 5 years, and they'll say, hey, we passed the greatest, largest tax cut bill, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on this, no tax on that, but it's going to be for 5 years. It's not going to be permanent. Why? Because Washington truly does not want to solve a problem. That's why. And they are basically going to say to each other, well, you know what? Let's put on a show. Let's put on a show. We'll talk about no tax on tips. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about securing the border. We'll talk about all these different things, these spending cuts. We'll make everyone believe that we are doing our job. And maybe we will do our job temporarily for about 4 years. And then we'll worry about that in the next administration. This is who they are. They don't want to govern. They want to govern for themselves, not for their constituents, not for the American people. This is who they are. So I want you to understand that it is going to get done. Eventually, this bill, this big, beautiful bill, will get done. But it goes back to how I started tonight's segment. How do you eat the elephant? You eat the elephant one bite at a time. And it's vitally important for people to understand that. So, if you really, truly wanted to see real change, permanent change, codified change, then you break it up. You take your big, beautiful bill and you smash it into 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 little bills. That's what you do. And you vote on each one separately. No tax on tips. Boom. Pass that separate. No tax on Social Security. Boom. Pass that separate. No tax on overtime pay. Boom. You pass that separate. That's 3 bills right there alone. Now, you pass those 3 bills. Now, guess what? That big, beautiful bill is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And what? Easier to digest. Then you take the other elements out of it. You take the border security out of it. And you create a 4th bill that is solely based on border security. And you get that passed. Now all of a sudden, you've got 4 pieces of legislation to run on in 2026 instead of one big, stupid, giant, beautiful bill that doesn't do what it needs to do. And then you go and you talk about real tax cuts. Because if you break this thing down, that's when you will separate the men from the boys. the conservatives from the fakers, the rhinos from the reformers. And that's what will happen. They know that. That's why they don't want to break it up. They want it to be what? One big, beautiful mirage. It's a mirage, folks. And guess what? In the end, sadly, the mirage is what will pass. Unreal. That's my words on that. Now, let's move on to something else, shall we? Looks like Oklahoma is going to be leading the country in education reform in the best way possible, okay? I love this superintendent in Oklahoma. I've already reached out to him. I want him on the show. I want to interview this guy. He is phenomenal. He is fantastic. His name is Ryan Walters is his name. And he is the head of Oklahoma schools, basically. He is now going to be teaching, are you ready for this? 2020 Democrat fraud. And he's going to make sure that it is part of the curriculum in Oklahoma schools. God bless this man. God bless this man. He is going to force the students in Oklahoma to learn about Democrat voter fraud. Charts, analysis, videos, essays, writings, you name it, all of it, all of the quote-unquote anomalies will be discussed. Oklahoma school to teach issues of Democratic voter fraud. Students will analyze the 2020 election anomalies. And let's see, where does he pop in over here? Here's what he says. The standards do not instruct students on what to believe. Rather, they encourage critical thinking by inviting students to examine real-time events, review publicly available information, and come to their own conclusions. Left-wing parents and teachers are already up in arms over this. They say that they're going to go to the courts and try to stop it. They represent a distorted view of social studies and basically are going to lose in court. He then goes on to say, we have education bureaucrats that are left-wing elitists, and they think that they know what is best for these families. And they have been so radicalized that our families are going, what the hell is going on here? He said. The left has been pushing left-wing indoctrination in the classroom for years, he continued. We are taking education back. We are moving it back to actually understanding real history, not revisionist history, and I'm, quote, unapologetic about it, end quote. This could be the catalyst used for other red states to follow. You know, we have all these left-leaning, left-wing organizations, these heavy, dominant teachers' unions in almost every single state, including some red states. It's about time we start organizing, not necessarily as unions, but we get these conservative organizations and groups that get together and push, as lobbyists, if you will, push red states to adopt similar types of things. Studying left-wing ideology in red states so that students can be prepared to not be fooled by left-wing media, left-wing propaganda, and left-wing indoctrination. God bless this wonderful, wonderful superintendent. Here is a little bit more of his thought process on all of it. Listen to this.
Control, to see teachers from all over the country who have rejected that union control and stood up to the bullies that is the teacher union leadership and say, listen, we want to be great teachers. We want to have an impact on not only the kids in our classroom, but teachers around us. And we understand that the teachers union is not only not helpful, they're an impediment to that. It's incredible, the conversations I've been able to have with these great teachers that are free market believers. They're people that believe in American exceptionalism, but also individual exceptionalism. I got to hear so many conversations around teachers that want to inspire their kids. And this is what excites me about the future of education. So the more that we can improve our schools, the better off the entire state, the entire country is going to be. So very excited to get back to an education system that's focused on the basics, not indoctrination, focusing on American exceptionalism and what makes this country great instead of critical race theory and gender ideology. And when we get there, where we're focused on math, reading, science, and true American history, our young people are going to be inspired. As a country, we've always answered the call. And we've got a lot of folks right now that are very concerned with the future of this country. So if we get this back on track, we tell young people the story of America, we empower them through knowledge, we'll continue to be the greatest country in the history of the world. And that's what I want to see for our future generations.
There it is. God bless this Ryan Walters guy here in Oklahoma. Hopefully he gets back to me, because I definitely want to have him on the show. But we'll see how that goes. So anyway, wanted to cover that. And then this, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was at a church giving a sermon, a speech, whatever you want to call it, and he committed a crime. That's right, he committed a crime publicly. Why? Well, it's because of what he said in the pulpit. So number one, because he said it in church, that could also be, construed as an additional crime. But what he said is horrendous. It is racist, and it is a violation of so many things, which I'll get into. But he basically said that he only hires black people because, quote, they're more generous than whites. Okay? Not too many people are covering this, but I am going to cover it, and I'm going to cover it for a reason.
Some detractors that will
remember,
right? This is how we are. And so,
listen to what he says.
Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business,
So that's part of it, but here's the part that he talks about blacks being, quote, more generous than whites, which is where the crime happens.
the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? This is how we are. And so Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor.
And then he goes in and explains that they're all black. So what did he do here, essentially? Well, he violated the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, for sure. Not only that, he violated the Equal Clause, as far as Equal Protection Clause, and he violated the Civil Rights Act section that says that you cannot discriminate. So when I saw this, I immediately put it up on X, and I put at Tom Fitton, I put at Stephen Miller, I put at America First Legal, I put at Jay Sekulow, I put at ACLJ, I put at Harmeet Dillon, who's in the Civil Rights Department, and I put it to all of their attention. And hopefully they see it, because he committed a crime. He is in violation of so many things. The Civil Rights Act, the EEOC, best business hiring practices. He's discriminatory, and he's admitting it that he's discriminatory. So again, he needs to be prosecuted. So we'll see what happens with that. Last thing I wanted to talk about was Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were on Maria's show today as well. And they covered a lot of different things, I'm going to be honest. But they talked about how they're taking the FBI and they're removing 1,500 of them and out of D.C. He also announced live that they're shutting down the J. Edgar Hoover building in Washington. He actually said it's unsafe for FBI agents to work there. Don't know why that is. He didn't explain. But he's actually shutting it down, and it's going to save taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. He said we could keep it open and renovate it, but it would cost taxpayers billions. So he told Bongino and others, find another spot. That's a lot less money, and let's do a little small renovation. Let's save taxpayers tons and tons of money, and let's move our headquarters over there. So that's one thing he was talking about. One thing that I don't agree with is they basically said that Epstein hung himself. I don't believe that for a minute, but both Bongino and Kash Patel said there is no there, and we've seen all the documents, we've seen all the pictures, we've seen everything, and from everything we can gather, it looks like he hung himself. I don't buy that. Okay, I'll go on record still to this day. I do not buy that. I think he was murdered. I think there's too many circumstances involved with cameras missing or not on, or angles not being shown, or guards missing or sleeping. I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, Epstein absolutely did not kill himself. But I'm not in the FBI. I'm not privy to their documents, so whatever. We'll let them talk about that. Then he talked about why we haven't seen any movement on the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. And his answer was basically that there's an ongoing investigation, and because of that ongoing investigation, they don't want to divulge all that information yet and possibly jeopardize the investigation. Sounds like a little bit of a, duck and move here, to be honest, but whatever. But one thing that Bongino said, because they're sitting together, is when Maria pushed back on no one being arrested and things like that, Bongino basically said what I've been saying for the longest time. That do we want to have these people arrested and indicted and all this stuff and bring them into trials, bring them into court, and then because the cases are not strong enough, some left-wing radical extremist lawyer is able to find loopholes, exploit those loopholes, and now these people walk free. Well, Bongino basically kind of validated what I've been talking about, and here is what he said. If I can find it. Not there. Here it is. Right here.
Listen, we've been here 2 months. He's been here a couple more weeks than that. I mean, we've been here 2 months. You're dealing with a 38,000 member organization and an approximately $12 billion budget.
Fair point.
Where to expect us in 2 months to dig up what was a 8-year, maybe longer, multi-year politicized investigation with multiple layers of processes, from Woods procedures being just thrown in the garbage can and flushed down the toilet bowl, to multiple layers of accountability where people lied and obfuscated. I'm not asking you to trust me. You want this done right, or you want it done quickly? Because you can't have it both ways. You want it done quickly, we'll do it. And you know what'll happen? Just what happened last time. Those same Spygate collusion perpetrators sued the government, got money, got all this. You want that? We'll do it. We'll do it quickly and do it wrong.
But are you saying you found things that even you didn't know about? I mean, you were at the core of this.
Yes.
Yes.
I was the lead Russiagate investigator for the House Intelligence Committee. And I've been on both your shows in a prior life talking about it. And I'm telling you and the American public that we have now found material and information and people who wanted to hide it from the world since we got in these seats. And we, as the deputy said, we are trying to do it in a fashion where not only are we informing the American public of what happened, but we can have accountability for it. And that takes
time. Not only do we want to inform you, but we want to have accountability. This is why I keep saying we have to remain patient. I know it's tough. It's hard for me, trust me. I want to see these people, obviously. But it's going to take time. We've got to build the strongest cases possible so there's zero wiggle room. So that no left-wing lawyer can jump in there and go, wait a minute, what about that? We don't want what about that's. We want them to see the evidence in discovery and go, holy cow, they got you dead to rights. You better figure out a way to, do some type of plea deal or plea bargain or leave the country because you're going to jail. That's the conversation the defense attorney needs to have with these people. Not, don't worry about it. They missed this. They missed that. I've got a way to get you out of it. That's what we don't want, folks. We don't want that. So please understand that. Be patient. Justice should be coming soon. How soon? I don't know. But we've got, what, almost 3 years and 8 months or 9 months left or whatever the hell it is. You know, we've got some time here, okay? So be patient, and hopefully these people will start falling. Maybe Comey will be first, one after one after one. That's all we can hope for. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.